welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Allmark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today we're looking at the lovely lily pad again. I have been really surprised by this stamp set and I'm absolutely loving it. It's free at the moment during Sale-A-Bration, which runs to the 31st of March. And you can get it with a purchase of £45 from either the annual catalogue or the new mini catalogue. And yeah, you can then get that one for free. I'm also going to be using the lovely Golden Honey Speciality Designer Series paper. Real mouthful, but basically it's pattern paper, which is black and gold on one side and then black and white on the other side. So there's it's quite a monochrome one. Goes with the Sweet with the Bees, but I'm just using the paper for this one. So with that in mind, I am going to, I'm still working on the ones that I've cut out, but I'm going to show you this set. If you look back, you'll see these are really rather good because they are thicker. They're reversible. So basically you can stamp on that side to get the an outline, or sorry, the fill-in part. So like two-step stamping. And you can stamp on this side. It does make them a little bit thicker, which I think works really well because they seem to stamp, for me, a lot better than the normal photopolymer. So I'm really pleased with them. I think they're really rather good, and I'm hoping that we're going to be doing some more of them. Just have to see, won't we? Will I get that on there? Oh, yes, I think I will. Okay, so I tend to take scraps of paper and then we'll stamp out these images. And then in the evening, I will take a pair of snips and just while I'm watching the television, I will do some fussy cutting. So, one on there. Would I get another one? Yes, I will. So I'm going to do that while I'm at it. I do them a little bit in advance because if I'm using blends, it allows the ink to dry, and whether you are using whatever ink you're using, you can use the Memento, which is a water-based ink, and then that allows you to colour over with the alcohol markers and they won't bleed. However, they all need to dry. So I use my own flavour of black ink because I prefer it. And we don't actually do that one, but use whatever black ink you want. However, put it to one side and allow it to dry for a while. So I'm using for this one, I'm using this large image and I'm using two of these smaller images. But I'm only going to show you the colouring on one of them, which is one that I did earlier on, so that's completely dry. And we're using, you might think quite surprisingly, we are going to be using Smoky Slate Light and Dark. So all we're going to do is we are going to just colour in I'm using the pale to start off with, and I always go over quite lightly. I don't, I use my tips quite lightly. If you're quite heavy-handed, you will find that you're more likely to bleed, and you can see when I get up to the edges, my technique to make sure that it doesn't bleed over those edges is to not go to the edges, but to just literally tap, tap, tap and do little dots, because the dots will join up really easily because it's alcohol, particularly like up in this little tip. I'm not hardly even touching the paper, and I tend to turn it round as I'm going as well. So I would never profess to being an expert, but I do enjoy doing it, and I think, like everything, the more you do it, the more you learn and the better you get at it. At the end of the day, everything that we do, it's just paper. If it's an absolute disaster and you really hate it, you can just screw it up and put it in the bin and start again. So, you know, do practice, do play with it. Now I'm taking the dark of the smoky slate, and I'm using the bullet tip only because that's my preference, and it's a relatively small surface area. So just get the lid off, and we are just going to put some shadow, so some dark, down at the bottom area, and I do it in just little strokes. And so in between where the petal of this lily comes, just at the bottom bits, we're just doing just a few little strokes of the dark to give just a little bit of shadow. Okay, and then we can go back to the light. Just put this lid on, put that one back. We can go back to the light, and where the two join, so the seam line, as it were, of the two, I just go over with just little circular strokes, because I find that that blends it in quite nicely. There we go. And then that, as it dries, it will you'll get the shadow parts looking more shadow-like and the top part looking paler. So there is a coordinating die which you can get for a £90 spend, but these images are relatively easy to just literally, I mean, I'm going to show you this one, showed the other one the other day to you. They are relatively easy to just cut out. They're not a difficult shape. There's not tiny weeny little bits. So if you want to save your spend and buy other free items, then you can just cut these out. If you hate fussy cutting, then yes, by all means do it. So we are going to have, I've done the big one, and so we now have two of the smaller ones which we need. And then for the lily pad, and I'm not going to show you the colouring of this one, for the lily pad I chose the light and dark of our smoky slate. And no, I didn't. I chose the crumb cake. I chose the dark of the crumb cake, and then I chose the bronze just for the edge part to just add a little bit of colour. So that will tie in with the card that we're doing. So let me take the pieces out that I've got on here. So we have, this is the piece of designer series paper that I wanted to use. So I wanted to pick up the black tones, but I also wanted to pick up something that almost sort of replicated the gold. So the neutral tones, but not all just one colour, because I didn't want the lily pad to get lost within the lilies. So I am going to just straight away glue this one down. Now I want to have the, and it's worth having a look how your paper cuts to which way up you want it. Now I happen to actually want the double gold bit down at the bottom, so I am just going to put this onto my card. And line it up, going quiet as I concentrate to get it lined up. Okay, so that's going to be the base that we're working with. That's why I wanted the monochrome things on there. Then I have taken a one of our stitched shaped framelets, the largest one, and an oval die that I had to just one of our old oval dies to just get an oval with a little frame on there. And I've taken a sentiment from one of my favourites, very Versailles. I absolutely love the style of this font on here. So that is going to go down at the bottom on here. And I've got that up with dimensionals. So we can actually put that piece down straight away. So again, all I've done is I've stamped that onto just a little piece of the white and then just added a very tiny border. And I want it to go in between on the gold here. So I'm just making sure that I've got it so that it's about as level as I can get. Probably a little bit over on there, but that'll do. Then I'm going to take this piece, which is the oval, and that's going to go on, but I'm not going to use the dimensionals on that part. I don't like too many layers because I think sometimes it almost looks like a little bit like a pyramid. Layers are good, but for me, it's a bit like adding too many embellishments and sequins and ribbon and all the rest of it. Sometimes for me, less is more. And if you're trying to achieve this sort of like monochrome type card, well, it's not monochrome because it's going to be 3. It's going to be black and white and gold. You want to not then make it too overly fanciful. So I'm just going to put that one down. You can use the stitch rectangles, you could use circles, you could use any shape you wanted. I've just chosen this one because I fancied it. Then I'm going to put the lily pad down. And I think all of these pieces we're going to put down with dimensionals. Are we? Let me think. No, we're not. We're going to put these down just with wet glue. So the lily pad is going to be just down with the wet glue because I want some layers and sort of textures on this. So that's going to go down at just on the bottom like that. And again, I just stuck those down. Sorry, I just fussy cut those out. The shapes are really easy to cut out with a pair of scissors. So, and our paper snips, my goodness, they're sharp. You have to be careful you don't. I spiked myself the other day. I don't know whether I've still got the little hole on it, but I spiked myself, and it is, they are exceptionally sharp, but they do cut beautifully, which means that if you're trying to sort of fussy cut round a shape, the scissors almost do it for you. All you've got to do is to really turn the paper and then you're through. So I'm putting these down with just with the wet glue, and I'm having them so that they just come off the edge reasonably balanced like that. Then we're going to take this one, and this one we're putting up with the dimensionals. So let's take some of our standards. And I'm putting them fairly far out because I want them to cover the edges where the little points are where we've cut these out. So this is going to give us our height in here. So we can put that one in nicely in between, and that gives us the nice piece of height on there. So that's looking good. And then what I thought we would do is in the poppy suite, there is Peaceful Poppy sequins, but they have the most gorgeous gold sequins in there. And I thought just a few little gold sequins dotted about would be quite nice. So I'm going to try and get, I want the fairly flat one. So let me take my your pick tool. I don't want the little floral ones. So we have different shaped ones. So I'm going to put this on the other side. Although I do need to clean that. I was the great thing about the Take Your Pick tool is that you can take out the glue. If you glued something down and you want to remove it, you can actually put this in underneath, slide it along, and it takes all the bits out. Okay, so I want that one. I'm going to pop these out this way. I think, of course, that's going to stick onto that bit, isn't it? I just want the ones that are just plain and not floral. So it's a matter of trying to scrabble through here and just pick out. That's another one. Whoops. Might have to do it individually, but they're the ones that I want. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue, and where shall we have them? We'll have one in that little space there. We might have one just sort of on the petal. I don't know. Let's try with, I always say try things out first before you commit yourself. So I'm very much, I like to try things out first. Now I can put this on and then I can use the putty end, which is very good. In fact, I've even got one stuck on there from before. So let's take this one out, and this one is going to go down there. We always want to put odd numbers, but let's have a look and see. Like that. Oh yes, that is nice, isn't it? Make sure it's flat. So one, I might actually put, I'm tempted to put one on the flower, and I think I will. I think I'm going to put one just sort of there, and then we might have one down on here, just sort of like almost in a not intentionally, but it has happened that way. I'm just putting the wrong bit on here, but just so that we've got it's coming in a row. I didn't intentionally mean it to come in a row, but I think it's just going to come in a row. So I'm just going to get the next one out. There's one. And we'll have that one on there. I've got it upside down, inside out, not quite sure. Put that in like that. And then we'll have the other one in down on the bottom. It's to just go a bit flatter, doesn't it? I'm muttering again. I always tell when I mutter. That's another flat one. So I'll have that one just down on there. Yes, I think that's pretty. So that's just added just a little bit of something. I could put a few more if I wanted to, but I don't think so. I think 3 is just plenty. Just adding just a little bit of twinkle on there. Put the lid on so I don't throw them about everywhere. And there you have a rather nice, it needs to just go straight. It's gone on, whoops, it's gone on a bit of an angle, and it's annoying me that it's not sitting where it should do flat. That's better. It's going to annoy me now, isn't it? It's not going to stay where it should do. There we go, that's better. Okay, so yes, you've just got that little bit of twinkle on there. You've got the monochrome. But again, it would work quite well for somebody who doesn't like too fancy cards. I always think of cards for men sometimes where you want to send them something and, you know, they have a pond, they have a garden, they have all of those sorts of things. But they may not necessarily want anything too overly ornate. So I think that makes a really pretty card. So something very different from the colourful ones. Lovely lily pad, free with a £45 order until the end of March. So thank you so much for watching me. Do look forward to seeing you again. Bye bye.